The G2 is LG's take on bringing their phones to the next level. The G2 has gotten a lot of hype because of its unique design, with the volume rockers and the power button on the back of the phone. Many people have also said that this phone is a prototype of what the Nexus 5 will look like when it wasn't out yet. So the LG G2 was announced in August 2013 and was released to the public in September 2013. So let's start off with the hardware side of things. The phone packs a 2.26 GHz Quad-Core Krait 400 processor with the Snapdragon 800 chipset, 2 GB of RAM, and an Adreno 330 graphics. It also has a back 13 megapixel camera capable of shooting video in 1080p at 60 frames per second, and a front-facing camera with 2.1 megapixels, also capable of shooting video in 1080p at 30 frames per second. The phone also features a beautiful 5.2-inch display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. The screen packs a PPI of 424 and is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 2. Taking a quick look around the phone, and on the front you'll find your front-facing camera, your speaker for calls, a beautiful 5.2-inch display, and some LG branding at the bottom along with the software buttons. On the back you'll find your volume rockers, the power button that lights up when pressed, and a 13 megapixel camera with flash. I know that some of you guys might think that the button placement is kind of weird, and that's because it is. The placement is something to get used to, but when you get used to it, you'll fall in love with this device. At least I did. As far as the size goes, this phone felt really good in the hand. The dimensions were perfect for me, and I just love holding and using this phone. The phone is 138.5mm tall, 70.9mm wide, and 8.9mm thick. The phone is also pretty light, coming in at only 143 grams or 5.04 ounces. Another thing that I loved about design was the really thin bezel. I also fell in love with the shiny plastic on the back of the device, and although it got really dusty really fast, I still really liked using the device. So earlier I mentioned the display, so let's talk about that for a bit. The display is a 5.2-inch IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is Full HD. For you geeks out there, the PPI is 424, which is pretty insane. The colors look really nice and natural, the text stays sharp and clear even if you're zoomed in incredibly close, so as far as the display goes, it definitely gets an A+ for me. When it comes to gaming, this phone really shines. With its 2.26 GHz quad-core processor, 2 GB of RAM, and the Adreno 230 graphics, the phone was literally flying through the game. Even on maximum settings, it handles some games like Death Trigger and Death Trigger 2 like a champ, and that's all that matters. I've been gaming quite a lot on this device, and I'm proud to say that I had a blast. The LG G2 also scored really high in an Antutu benchmark and can compete with other high-end phones like the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, and in fact I have made a video comparison between the LG G2 and the Note 3, which I will link in the description. When it comes to the camera and images, this phone is no slouch. A front-facing camera is perfectly fine for selfies and other quick pictures, but when it comes to the back 30 megapixel camera, this phone really shines. The snaps taken on the LG G2 really are something amazing. The amount of detail is absolutely incredible, and the colors are pretty well saturated as well, which is always great. The 1080p video that the phone produced was also pretty insane, which is another plus when it comes to the camera. On the bottom of the device you also find a pretty big and loud speaker, which is pretty solid, although I would prefer the speaker placement to be on the front like the speakers on the HTC One. The speaker still did its job pretty well. As far as the operating system goes, the LG G2 is running Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean with LG's custom skin. The phone was flying through Android, but that's expected from a phone in this price range. I also really like LG's custom skin. It has a lot of features that I liked using, for example its double tap to check notifications feature when the phone is locked. The animations were also really cool, and so was the keyboard. Overall a great experience. There are 4 options that you can choose from when buying this device. First off, you can choose between the color, which are white and black, and then you can also choose between the storage size, which are 16 or 32 GB. The LG G2 also features an insanely big 3000 mAh battery, which is non-removable. The battery life was amazing, and as many YouTubers said, like MKBHD, Destroyed and others, this phone really is a pure beast when it comes to the battery life. The phone easily lasted me 2 full days, if not more, and no matter how hard I tried to empty the battery in one day, I couldn't. My overall score of this phone is a 9 out of 10. The G2 really is something incredible and I absolutely loved it. The design of it is something to get used to, but when you get used to it, you will love it. The camera and the display were also incredible, which is great. Overall an incredible phone, and if I'm honest, this is my favorite phone of 2013 as of right now. Before we wrap up, I also want to say huge thanks to Mobitel for providing this phone for review. So anyway guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more high quality technology content.